Welcome to The Art of Living, where we explore the intersections between art and architecture. Today we're at the home of artists Benjamin Armstrong and Moya McKenna. Let's have a look inside this incredible home that Ben's built. Hi Ben.
Hi Fiona. Welcome.
So today we're at the home and studio of Benjamin Armstrong and Moya McKenna. So Ben works in a range of mediums, including prints, sculpture, glass, wax, and has been very hands-on with the building of his home. And Moya is a highly talented painter. So they both have their studios separate in the home, and then the actual house is centralised and connecting the three different spaces. So Ben, tell us about your experience. Obviously you went to your friend James Staunton from Workshop Architecture to design this house. Do you want to tell us a bit about your experience working with James?
There was not really any, whilst we went to him, but there was not an intentional plan to formally work with him. It just really unfolded, and then we were working together, and at some point we agreed that there'd be this exchange of art for architecture, and that made the relationship very beautiful.
Yeah.
I think, because it was never, it was sort of fueled by passion for the vision and a commitment to, on our behalf, to realise James's vision, which would then become our home and workplace.
So again, exploring this intersection between art and architecture, there was a really lovely moment in the story of the build of this house where you started producing artwork that had a connection to the architecture.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe about a year into the build, I started cutting a couple linoleum blocks, which in fact the prints are here, and they were really directly related to the building. They were cut over quite a long time period, so maybe about a year, as I was building and cutting, and there was a point where very close to the end of the building, where the building permit was about to run out, and we had to have like the last gasp, the moment where we get it all done, and I decided to edition them and print them up, and it was almost like a little fundraiser for the last part of the building, which was a quiet triumph in the end. So an edition of these works funded the final completion of the building.
And this is one of your trades with James, the architect, as well.
That's right. I mean, what a pleasure and privilege to be able to say to James, here's something that talks back to all the beautiful work he'd put into our place.
Fantastic. So Ben, the way the house is designed, the stair really just, you feel like you just want to be drawn up vertically to the top of the building, which is where we are now. How did this space come about, and how does it inspire you?
It's so true that you do sort of get sucked up and
spat out
at the top here, launched out, and one of the great things about this, it's really striking if you think back through it, is that we sent James to look at this space when we were interested in buying it, and he came, and we were living in New South Wales, which is this sort of connection we have back to this area in southeast New South Wales. And James came and took all these photographs of inside the building, the front of the building, and then also out in the streets down by the Merry Creek. And from this street behind us, he realised that it had this great city skyline. So from the moment we informally started working as architect-client, he said, we're going onto the roof. And you know, as soon as I came up here, once we'd purchased it and nervously ascended the ladder, yeah, it was very apparent why you would go on the roof. And yeah, I guess it's become a space of, I mean, this is it in wet conditions. Still pretty pleasant.
Yeah, you got that lovely grey Melbourne skyline.
But yeah, it's beautiful. Like pretty much morning and evening, it's always a space we come up because you've got that great easterly sunrise or moonrise horizon, and the same out to the west. You get the
amazing sunsets.
Yeah, beautiful sunset. So it's when the weather's more benevolent, then yeah, we have breakfast up here. We have dinner up here, and just generally, absorb the industrial miasma.
Yeah, because I think it's a complete contrast to the rest of the house, which is very inward looking, and you do kind of come up and out up into this space. Talk about the ziggurat a little bit and why that was built. So
it was born out of this sort of suggestion that we, seeing as we'd come up onto the roof, there was this desire to have an sort of unpinged horizon view, and the matrix of the staircase, as James designed, and to fit the balance of the courtyard, this was the set out height of the deck. And after various conversations, James said, why don't we put a ziggurat there, which had come from his time in Egypt and visiting various places. So if you actually do come up, then you actually do see you rise above all the rooftops and do get the
and
full
the view just transforms again.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, and it relates to James's travel. So, we just got a kind of tie-in point with how the building was articulated and planned, and in conjunction with that southeast New South Wales thing we're talking about.
So Ben, you've actually made everything in this house, including this amazing stair. How did you go, and what were the lessons that you learnt working with steel?
The first lesson was that I didn't know I could actually do it until it all became a necessity when we discovered that a budget for fabricating a staircase like this exceeded what we had.
Probably would have taken your whole budget, pretty much.
And a little bit more. So yes, I slowly just developed the courage that I could have a go at it, and because it was so repetitive, it gave me lots of chance to perfect myself as I went up flight by flight.
Because I have to say that the quality of it would exceed most steel fabricators in Melbourne, so it's exceptional.
I got a bit obsessed. It's a very rewarding medium though to work in, maybe as a counterpoint to the practice as an artist, where you actually have a set structure and this has to measure this and be straight.
Yeah. So this central courtyard, which connects every single space in this house, obviously has a lot of meaning to you, and really has a strong reference to your past home in southeast New South Wales.
So yeah, it certainly does, and that connection to southeast New South Wales is strong, although the period we lived there was actually only 9 months. But yes, so the stone comes from that area. It's a granite with beautiful pink flecks that through it the same stone you find all over Gabo Island, and the Currajong tree too is also a native to southeast New South Wales, but not that area only.
The tree is supposedly a very slow growing tree, and when you got it, it was only small 2 years ago, but it seems to have grown incredibly rapidly.
Yeah, we're shocked by that. It's meant to, it is in fact a slow growing tree, but because of the belief it's in a canopy, surrounded by the building's courtyard, it's just shot up chasing the light, and it's found it now, so we're hoping it's going to slow down.
Yeah. Or it's just flourishing and loving its new environment.
Yeah, I just hope it's not Jack and the Beanstalk.
So Ben, this is obviously your favourite place in the house, and it seems like a really contemplative, enriching space. Tell us a little bit about why you like being in this space.
It's quite a few reasons. One of the first ones is just that sort of low ceiling that creates, and the span of the room. So it creates a kind of warmth and, nurturing space. And then obviously it's like a cultural resource as well with, Mira Gojak works here, which, follow that contemplation idea for me, and reading material and music. And so, yeah, it becomes like a source of nourishment, but a really beautiful environment to be in, connected sort of indirectly with the world via, this soft light that comes in from the courtyard.
And I love the way James here has directed you with your bookshelf that you've made to hold it off the walls and hold it off the ceiling, which is sort of often the opposite way that architects would think. Generally we'd go to the ceiling and go to the walls, but this has given you an opportunity really to put some of your beautiful artworks that you've collected over the years into the space as well, and allow some level of flexibility.
Yeah, I think that it's really great that James's decision in that sense of not to expand it out, to allow it to be a bookshelf, and it sits independent as a structure.
Yeah.
But also maybe in a small homage to In Praise of Shadows, the value of keeping a corner, which we've unfortunately filled up with overflow books.
That will change. So this is a really interesting connection, I think, and this is where we get this crossover between art and architecture, is this vignette through here. Obviously there is a connection between this space and Moya's painting Exit into the Green.
Yeah, so we're standing in Moya's studio, and the formal sort of shapes in that painting, which is a green rectangle, and then the verticality of the fence, it does play back into that painting as we look directly onto that rectangle and the verticals of the fence.
It's those beautiful subconscious moments that I'm really fascinated by.
Yeah, I think they creep up on you. You don't really plan on them.
So you've also mastered furniture making along the way as well.
It was sort of maybe a seed of what was coming. I didn't know what it was going to grow into, but yeah, the table was made when the building was purchased. I really didn't know what was coming with the building though.
But then you carry that through to the hanging rails in the bedrooms and the kitchen cabinetry and absolutely everything.
Yeah, I think it was almost like, once the snowball got rolling, it couldn't stop.
No. And designing a chair is one of the hardest things that you can actually do. The ergonomics of it, designing it is incredibly challenging, but you've mastered yet another craft.
I really have Moya to thank for sitting on the dozens of prototype chairs before we could sort of find the right position, and maybe those chairs are a little bit better for people who are shorter.
Yeah. Ben, thanks again for letting us into your home and really exploring your skills as both a builder and an artist. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thanks for coming by, Fiona.
No problem.
See you again.
Yes.